Hello and welcome to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway. What a wonderful and fitting finale it was to an unforgettable year on the DP World Tour. A thrilling Sunday in Dubai, and to look back on it with me, our very own Paul McGinley. Hello to you, Paul.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Back in the freezing cold after the warmth of Dubai last week. Also joining us, delighted to say, a man who was right in the mix in Dubai, played in the final group both days over the weekend, played his last 5 holes in 5 under par to secure a PGA Tour card. Welcome, I've been practicing my Danish, my very best Danish accent, Rasmus Neergaard-Petersen.
Thank you.
How was that? How was that out of 10?
It's just 7.5 out of 10. It's
I'll
actually
take that.
for the first time. It's not too bad, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do try. Thanks for joining us, Rasmus.
Of course.
And congratulations.
Thank
just
you.
Beautifully played. How are you feeling after Sunday?
I feel incredible. It's the last 72 hours have been absolutely wild. Obviously, knowing going into this week that I had a chance to secure a card if I were to play really well, but still to do it in that way, I had a good feeling going out before the final round that I could get across the line, but I couldn't quite have envisioned the way it was gonna come about with kind of struggling all day and then digging deep in the end there with that finish. It was it was quite mental, to be fair.
Yeah, it was special to watch, and we'll get into it in plenty more detail. But what an amazing end to the year it was in Dubai, where the cream certainly rose to the top. 9 of our Ryder Cup heroes were in the field. All 9 finished inside the top 14 on the final leaderboard. 2 of them went toe-to-toe, of course, in a playoff, Matt Fitzpatrick and Rory McIlroy. After Rory, just as he had done in the Irish Open, rolled in an eagle putt from distance on the 72nd hole to make it into the playoff. Couldn't repeat the heroics in the playoff. Matt Fitzpatrick is a winner of the Tour Championship for a 3rd time. Rory is the Race to Dubai champion for a 7th time. 10 players have secured dual membership by grabbing a PGA Tour card. More drama there, and we will get to that. But Paul, it has been an amazing year for European golf. It deserved a thrilling conclusion, and boy did we get it.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. It's been a tremendous year. Of course, it has. Obviously, the Ryder Cup victory over in New York was the creme of everything that happened from a European perspective. But we've had some great tournaments again. We've had some big sellout crowds as well too. And this European Tour, DP World Tour as it's called now, has evolved over the years. It's had to evolve with the massive competition that came on side with the third tour emerging into its space, along with the PGA Tour, 2 financial titans on either side. So, it's obviously aligned with the PGA Tour. I think it's benefited from that. I think it's thrived. I think it's gone forward. Yes, it has evolved. Yes, it has changed somewhat. But to see the emergence, not just the dominance, as you say, of the top players coming back, supporting and playing as well as they did last week, but to see the emergence of players like Rasmus and Iora as well too, and how well both of them adjusted and acquitted themselves last week, as well as the opportunities that both have to go and maybe play on the PGA Tour next year, as well as come back and support the big events on the DP World Tour. What a time to be a player. What amazing, obviously the money is huge in golf at the moment, but amazing opportunities and pathways more than anything else.
Rasmus, it was so much fun to watch on Sunday. What was it like to actually be in the mix yourself? Were you looking up at the leaderboard, and were you conscious of just how many people were in the mix and how it was constantly shifting?
Well, before going into the final round, obviously you could see the leaderboard. It's probably as packed a leaderboard as I've seen in a while. I can't remember we had so many guys, so many top names inside of just 1 or 2 shots. So I also knew before going out to the final round that you're going to have to shoot a pretty good round to make sure you stay up there. So, but yeah, it was just a wild experience. I said it on Saturday. I really look forward to coming out and play with Rory for the first time, and what a place to do it at an event where he's done so well in the past, and then you can only say it lived up to everything I'd hoped it would be. It was incredible.
It was great entertainment, and Matt Fitzpatrick with a bogey-free 66 wins it in the end, his 3rd Tour Championship title. Paul, I'm so happy for him. He's so humble. He's so down to earth, his Fitz. Great family, works his socks off, and he was properly in the doldrums earlier on this year. What a second half to the season he's had.
Yeah, he made a couple of changes behind the scenes, and that's the thing, Rasmus, as well too. In your career, I remember when I was just after I turned pro, way back. You weren't even born there in 1992, and I was only 3 months on tour, and I managed to have. I knew Gary Nicholas, Jack's son, who was playing then at the time, and he invited me to dinner with his dad. Jack, in on the Friday night. Jack had missed the cut. We was playing a tournament. He was just in his early 50s at that stage, and he was playing a tournament down in Spain on a golf course that he had designed, and that's why he was there. And I managed to have dinner with him, and his agent, and Gary and me, just the four of us having dinner. It was amazing to have dinner with Nicholas. But as I was leaving, Rasmus, he gave me great advice, and I'll say the same advice to you. He shook my hand and he said, "I want to wish you good luck in your career, Paul. But just remember one thing in this game: I have spent 90% of my time losing at this game and 10% winning." And I'm the most successful player that's ever played the game. Now, it wasn't said in an arrogant way, but it was the reality of the difficult sport that we're in golf, where you do have to come off the floor so many times. And that's what makes McIlroy so brilliant, his resilience.
Yeah.
Success is not a straight line. You're going to have ups and downs. You had a wonderful week last week. You've had a wonderful season on the DP World Tour this year, but I'm sure you look at some disappointments along the way as well too, and that's the natural evolution. And Matt Fitzpatrick has had that. Yes, he's had lots of success in the last few years, and he's won his major championship. But the first half of this year, the end of last year, was not going according to plan. He was outside the Ryder Cup team,
Yeah.
so he decided to just make a couple of adjustments behind the scenes, and he got reinvigorated again. And then once he started getting results again, he started to take off, and had an unbelievable second half to the year, and certainly from the Scottish Open onwards. And what a great Ryder Cup he had, well too, culminating in his victory here. It was coming, it was trending, as they say, because his form has been so good in the last 4 or 5 months, and he had a wonderful Ryder Cup too, something he hasn't always had in the past. Again, that would have infused him with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I was delighted for him. This, to your point, Paul, is Fitz's record since the end of June. T8 in the Rocket Classic, T4 at the Scottish Open, T4 at the Open, T8 at the Wyndham, T6 at the British Masters, 5th at the European Masters, T5 at the BMW PGA, part, of course, of a winning Ryder Cup team, T21 at the Dunhill, T32 in Abu Dhabi. You really let things slip in Abu Dhabi. And now a win in Dubai. Rasmus, you actually played with him in that final round in Abu Dhabi just over a week ago. What impresses you most about Matt Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, again, it's as you say, just his resilience. I know, I know how hard he works, and like one of the things that I've got to see up close last week was he wasn't the final round there. He wasn't hitting it, I'm sure, the way he would like to hit it, but his short game was spectacular. I loved his pitching. Um, I just, yeah, I mean, I've seen him. I haven't played with him before, but like one thing is how good of a player he is, but another thing is how good of a like generally how good of a guy he is as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing with him last week, and obviously, yeah, it's thrilled to see him get another win in Dubai. And yeah, as you just said, what a great second half to the year he's had.
You say you love his chipping. Have you tried the old right below left chipping, left before right chipping, I should say?
No, I mean, I'm also quite happy with the way I chip the ball, but I just like the fact that he's not afraid to go. If he thinks he chips it better with the left hand low, he does not care what anybody else thinks. If he thinks he chips it better that way, that's what he's going to do. And I think there's a lot of things to be learned from that sometimes. Like it doesn't necessarily, one thing that's good for one person might not be great for another. But at the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter what it looks like. If you find something that works for you and makes you better, you just go ahead and do that.
It's a hurling grip, isn't that, Paul? So it
Yeah.
would work for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do learn in Ireland. We have a game over here, Rasmus, called hurling. We
I
get
have
huge
heard of it
crowds at it.
actually.
Yeah, we all played as kids in school, and it's right hand over left. So if you're a golfer starting out in the game, it's difficult because your teachers at school and will teach you right hand over left for hurling, but then your dad or your golf teacher at home will say no, left hand over right. So you get confused, and that's why somebody actually, Porrick has put it really well, right hand over left for the period of time in his career, as well as Shane for a period of his career. So they're kind of used to right over left because they would have played hurling as well as kids.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Rory McIlroy looked to have had the tournament wrapped up at one point on Sunday. A couple of little mistakes on his back nine put him behind the 8 ball. But my goodness, Paul, needing an eagle up 18 to force a playoff, and he only goes and does it again. I mean, he is just box office.
He is box office, and the reason why he's box office is you can't predict him. In some ways, Scotty Scheffler gets a 2-shot lead with 12 holes to go. You'd be thinking, yeah, he's probably just going to softly take himself out of the equation of being caught and slowly move towards that finishing line. But Rory wants to, almost like he wants to have the excitement. He wants to have the adrenaline rush of having to do something up those last few holes, and so often he pulls it out of the bag. We saw him do that in the Irish Open this year. We saw him do it obviously in the Masters, where he won that tournament 4 times and lost it 3 times in the Sunday alone, never mind anything else. It's almost like he wants that buzz of doing it, because it's quite amazing, Rasmus, to see as well too. He missed a fairway on 12, he missed a fairway on 14, he missed a fairway on 15, he missed a fairway on 16, and it was like he's lost his game. And then nothing surer, he plays an unbelievable shot into 17. I know you hit an even better one in there, but I'd say from the tee box he hit just as good a shot as you. It just happened to be 3 or 4 yards shorter, and then to hit the two shots up he hit into 18. You helped him, by the way, big time. You had a big part
Yes.
in making that eagle by showing him the line.
Yeah, I was talking to him in scoring. He said he definitely played less break after seeing mine. I still can't believe mine doesn't break anymore, especially, I was trying to hit it with somewhat soft pace, like playing the high line. The wind's coming down off the right as well, so I was shocked it hardly moved before like the latter, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 feet of the putt.
The playoff was a bit of an anticlimax after all the drama on the 72nd hole, but a 7th race to Dubai for Rory. He's now within 1 of Colin Montgomery, 1 clear of the great Severiano Ballesteros, and this was a very touching moment, because this was Rory when asked what it meant to overtake the great man.
It's amazing. I had a conversation with his wife Carmen before I went out to play today, and she told me how proud he would have been, and it's I said this on this green last year to you. He means so much to this tour and to the European Ryder Cup team, and we rally so much around his spirit and his quotes and everything he meant for European golf. And to equal him last year was cool, but to surpass him this year, I didn't get this far in my dreams, so it's very cool.
Paul, just so lovely to hear genuine emotion from Rory when talking about Sevi, isn't it?
Yeah, Iora had his name written on his shirts this week. He does that. The inspiration. I think that's what's the legacy that Sevi's left more than anything is inspiration he's given young kids. The alignment in this world of social media, looking as good as he did, the way he carried himself as good as he did. Sevi would have been an even bigger star. Particularly the way he played the game as well, in this era, more so than even the era that he played in. He was a little bit like Rory. You didn't know what was going to come. Yes, you were going to see the brilliance, but yes, you were also going to see the mistakes. And that's what makes him so. It's just it's so box office, as you say, and you just can't turn off, or you can't discount them, because just when you think they're out of the race, they roar back into it again. And Rory does that better than anybody in the modern game. And I said it in commentary as well, his resilience in the big picture of his career, because he's the point we made just a few moments ago too, he's had a lot of disappointments too. People think that it was always been success for Rory, with the career that he's had, the win that he's had in the last 10 years, the opportunities to win major championships that he didn't take, the criticism that came his way, particularly when he lost to Bryson, and what everybody calling him a choker and he'd never win again. And on social media, the pylon was just embarrassing how bad it was, for considering how great a player he was. To come back then, a mere 4, 5, 6 months later, and win the way he did at Augusta, was just incredible. And particularly the way he won. It looked like when he threw it away by bogey in the last hole and go into a playoff, and yet then he pulls out the shots that he did in the playoff. I mean, that's what's most to be admired for me for Rory McIlroy, is the resilience he is as a human being, as a person. As much as I admire his golf game, I admire that more.
Absolutely. Rasmus, what was it like to play alongside Rory on Sunday?
Loud. So many people. It was incredible. The atmosphere on that first tee was it's been good all week. I mean, I really enjoyed the Saturday as well, walking out there with Nikolai, my fellow Dane. But no, it was spectacular. I mean, I thought that when I walked in, they were pretty loud, but there's a couple more levels to it when Rory's walking in and teeing it up. It was spectacular, and it was cool to be there in the 18th green as well. Obviously, a bit gutted that I'd missed my chance to go into a playoff. But I looked at my caddy Brian and said, just imagine when he makes this, that this is what's gonna mean I miss out on one of the cards by like a few points. But it turned out to be enough in the end, and that's the cool thing. Like it's almost like to the point he's going to make the putt. Like it's a gone conclusion.
Yeah.
You just know it in your heart of hearts. You've seen it so many times now. I feel like especially over this year, and it's crazy when you can look back and as you said, with all the scrutiny he was getting, like just over a year and a half ago when calling him choke. I mean, how many times have we not seen him this season and in the past when he's got the chance there on 18? He goes ahead and does it, and it was incredible to watch.
Were you chatting away during the final round? What were you talking about?
Well, I had to ask him about the Ryder Cup. I mean, I did. I'm sure he's asked every time, but no, he asked me a bit about my time in college. Obviously, told him I've played at Oklahoma State with overlap with Victor and a bunch of the other good players going over there, and no, just felt like we just talked about multiple like different things as well. Obviously, as we got closer to the end, there was less and less talk and more. Yeah, it was weird. I felt kind of somewhat calm all day. I just wasn't really executing shots. But no, he was great to play with. His caddy Harry there told me that was before he'd hit his putt on 18. And when I walked over, to shake his hand after the round, that he hoped it was going to be enough for the card, and no, just great to play with those guys. Absolutely.
I don't think it's the last time we're going to see Rory McIlroy and Rasmus Neergaard-Petersen in final rounds together. So I'm glad you enjoyed the experience. We'll discuss Rory a bit more in more detail in the second half of the pod. But 4 players in a tie for third. Tommy Fleetwood has spoken plenty about an incredible end to the season for Tommy. A few putts slipped by on Sunday. Otherwise, he may well have grabbed another title. Ludwig Ober, great to see him playing the golf we know he can. Amazingly, his first appearance at the Tour Championship. And lo and behold, he finishes in a tie for third. Laurie Cantor, we had him on the pod last week. Right up there all day on Sunday. Just when he needed a birdie up the 72nd hole, couldn't quite find it. Great week nonetheless. Great year for Laurie, heading to the PGA Tour. First ever former live player to play on the PGA Tour, he will be. And the other man, of course, in the tie for third, playing his last 5 holes in 5 under par, as I've already said, Rasmus Neergaard-Petersen did birdie his 72nd hole. And that birdie meant that he leapfrogged 2 others and snatched a PGA Tour card right at the very last second. Rasmus, were you aware going up 18 that you needed a birdie to get the card?
I knew that I definitely needed a birdie for any chance. Obviously, I didn't. I thought a birdie would be enough, but again, at that point, you don't really know. You're just trying to, like, it's funny. Like, I hit a good drive out in the fairway. I'm standing down there. I think I had 260 left of the pin, uphill, 260, 270. Like, you're just trying to hit a good shot up there, give yourself a chance at a birdie. But the funny thing I find is, like, instantly, as soon as I hit that shot and I hit the middle of the green 18 feet, all of a sudden, I'm not thinking birdie. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and make this putt, get into a playoff and try to win the tournament. Which, again, looking back, just 4.5 holes before that was not really on the radar. And it just comes to show you, like, one of the things I think when I play my very best golf is I don't get too upset about whatever's happened. I just put one foot in front of the other, and then you never know when you're gonna hit a run of form, like a run of birdies. It can happen in an instance. Like, I hit basically from 14 in, I hit 2 great shots on 14 to give myself an eagle chance, and then you roll in that long putt, and all of a sudden you're like, you're in here. You guys still got a chance. You got 15 and 18 that are playing quite easy, and then you got 16 and 17 where they're tough holes, but it's like you feel like, especially this course at Jumeirah, it's like if you put the ball in and play off the tee and in the fairway, and you have good distance control of the irons, you can score, you can birdie any hole.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you're a little out of position, that's when the course comes back to bite you. So, from 14 in, I pretty much just I executed about as well as I could have done. So it was, yeah. I still don't think it's quite sunk in it yet. It probably won't quite sink in before I'm standing on the first tee at my first event next year.
And Paul, This young man here, he looks the real deal, doesn't he? I know he was on the radar when it came to the Ryder Cup. I know there were discussions and his name was mentioned in those circles.
Yeah, Rasmus, I was strategic director, as you know, and I was over in the Team Cup in January over in Abu Dhabi, and we were trying to unearth some new talent and also giving guys like you or young rookies who were going to make the team an opportunity to mix with some of the Ryder Cup players to meet the backroom team in the Ryder Cup, as well as forge relationships with Luke in particular. And at the end of it, you were a big part of the debrief as certainly a Ryder Cup player of the future. Whether you would make it this year or not was obviously going to be a long shot. Your first year on the DP World Tour coming off the hotel planner. But we did see the talent. We did speak about you a lot as being a guy to watch, certainly on the DP World Tour this year. And you've proved us right. I've no doubt that you're going to be a Ryder Cup player to come. And it's a great opportunity for you to have. And I'll just give a little bit as well, too, a word of caution, on the point that we made earlier. You're going over to play the PGA Tour next year. It's been a massive escalation from you, from hotel planner. You've bounced onto the DP World Tour in 1 year. You're now going to the PGA Tour. So it's been a huge escalation. As much as you're a great player, next year is going to be difficult. You're playing on the PGA Tour on courses in the culture against players that are well used to these golf courses and strong, very familiar with the style of golf over there. So there's going to be a period of adjustment for you next year. If it doesn't work out, and by all accounts, the quality of player you are could well work out, and I'm expecting it to work out. But if it doesn't, don't be too disheartened. And I love what we impressed most about you was your stoic attitude that you just mentioned there a moment ago. Absolutely, that comes through. Even when watching you on TV, there's a calmness about your body language. You can see there's not a huge amount going on in your head, and you've got a wonderful, wonderful attitude. So make sure that that's your ally going forward. And even if it doesn't happen for you on the PGA Tour this year, you're going to have so many opportunities going forward for it to happen. It's been a massive escalation. Fingers crossed it's going to continue that way. But if it doesn't, don't be too disheartened, because you've got all the talent in the world and a wonderful attitude to go with it. And there's a big, big future ahead of you. If you were a stock, Rasmus, I'd be buying you. I'd be putting quite a few quid on you as a stock. I think there's great chances and great fun times ahead for you. And most certainly you're going to be a Ryder Cup player and you're going to achieve, a lot in the game.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for those kind words. It means a lot. Obviously, it's my parents ask me sometimes if I can kind of keep up with the escalation. Because yes, I've been a pro now for 2.5 years. Like it's gone so quickly, and like one of the things we say you do sometimes you get into a period of where you struggle a little bit, and I had a little bit of dip in form kind of middle of the summer. I didn't think I played my best golf, but I just before these last couple of events where I kind of found some form again, is I went back and instead of I felt like I was searching too much. I wasn't just trusting the process, and instead I went back and said, you know what? Even going into this week, I've had a great year. I know I have to finish in the top 3-4 to have any chance of getting a PGA Tour card. But even if that doesn't happen, it's been a great year, and I know I'm doing the right thing. So even if it doesn't come good right now, I'm sure it will down the line. So I think, as you say, going into next year, that's going to be the mindset. Keep doing what I'm doing, even if it doesn't work out great next year. I'm sure it will down the road.
And Rasmus, one thing which must give you great confidence is on your very first PGA Tour start, you finished runner-up in Puerto Rico. So that's pretty nice, going over to the PGA Tour for the very first time and nearly winning the tournament.
Well, that is one thing I think it's definitely going to help me some next year, is the fact that I did play college golf over there. So I do have some experience with the kind of golf courses. Obviously, even this year, most of the courses I've been playing, it's courses I'm coming to for the first time, having to to learn how to play a new golf course. So it's obviously a skill that I've got to practice a lot this year, since pretty much anywhere I've been going, it's a new golf course that I need to learn. But I also know that I did find some confidence in some of the later events this year, going back to places I've been before, and kind of just giving your sense of calmness. Kind of, not one thing is knowing how to play the golf course, another thing is just knowing where the lounge is, where's the gym, where's all those things. It just gives you a bit of just a sense of calmness, and kind of knowing that you've been there before. But I'm just super excited for the opportunity next year, and I'm certainly just gonna stick to what I'm doing, because I have 100% belief that what I'm doing is the right thing. And again, even if it doesn't come good right away, I'm sure it will down the line.
Listen, congratulations again. Have an amazing year next year on the PGA Tour. I've got no doubt you're going to be a great success. In the meantime, before then, enjoy your time in Australia as well. You've got, Brisbane next week and then on to Royal Melbourne, which is...
Yeah, correct.
You must be looking forward to that one.
Oh, can't wait. Can't wait.
That's going to be very special indeed. We're going to let you go now. Thanks so much for your time. We're also going to take a quick break just now. The other side of the break, we'll wrap up the rest of the action from Dubai and discuss the rest of the others who nabbed a PGA Tour card. Welcome back to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway. Rasmus Neergaard-Petersen has left us, but Paul McGinley is still alongside me. 10 players secured PGA Tour cards, life-changing stuff for some of them. They are Marco Penge, Laurie Canter, Christopher Raitan, Adrian Sadier, Alex Noren, John Parry, Hao Tong Lee, Keita Nakajima, Rasmus Neergaard-Petersen and Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith, who was holding on to the 10th and final card on the Sunday last year. Tom McKibben then birdied his final hole to deny him a PGA Tour card, only to then move to live and relinquish his tour card anyway, which didn't then get deferred to Jordan. This year, Jordan started with a 75. He was practically inconsolable, but then went 70, 64, 69 to seal a tour card. And Paul, so many different stories. Marco Penge, Christopher Raitan, Keita Nakajima, Rasmus, who we've just been speaking to, rising stars of the game. Laurie, Adrian Sadier, John Parry and Jordan Smith, players who've kind of been around for a while but are playing their very best golf right now and have something incredibly exciting to look forward to next year.
Absolutely. I mean, I notice some people like to criticize the fact that there's a pathway now directly onto the PGA Tour. Remember, the DP World Tour is a members organization. Its job is to serve the members. And it's not just about having big tournaments and prize monies, but it's also creating pathways for them to play maybe on the PGA Tour, which has always been the biggest tour in the game. And I certainly would have loved if this opportunity was around when I was playing, Jamie, not just in terms of the huge prize funds that are around now, but also the direct pathway. Even as a top 50 player in the world, and I was a top 20 player in the world, that gave me no status on the PGA Tour. Nowadays, it's direct status. This is a great opportunity. Now, even if you don't make it, it's a great experience for you. And, we talked about Rasmus there a moment ago. And even if he doesn't keep his card this year, he will learn a lot. It'll prepare him to be a better player down the road. And he may have to come back and play the DP World Tour for another year or two and reestablish himself as a better player before he goes back and does it again. But to have it every year and to have that gateway open is incredible. And remember, there's gateways open at the other end of the DP World Tour as well, too, from other tours around the world, Japan in particular. Players can elevate from that into the DP World Tour. So it's great to see that connection. I know the game is diluted at the moment. I know there's 3 main tours in the world at the moment, 2 of them with unlimited funds, it looks like, in the PGA Tour as well as Live. So the DP World Tour has really thrived and evolved in what's been a very, very difficult environment the last 3 or 4 years. And congratulations to everybody, the board in particular, as well as Guy Kinnings and the executive in first of all surviving through very turbulent times and also actually making the tour better and creating amazing opportunities and prize monies for DP World Tour players.
Yeah, and all these guys come back and support the DP World Tour as well. It's not like we've lost them forever to the PGA Tour.
No.
And I think there's a video of Daniel Hillier just missing out, which just shows the heartbreak for these players. They are human at the end of the day, and I thought that video spoke volumes. Paul, only 2 of the 9 players who sealed dual membership last year actually retained their PGA Tour cards. This, though, I would say, feels like a much stronger cohort that are taking up the dual membership.
Yeah, maybe so. Quite a few kept it from the group before that, not the group that's just from this year, from group 2 years ago. So you don't know. You don't know what's in store. You don't play in all the signature events, and that's a disadvantage, the $20 million purses. But you do play in the $10 million purses, $8 million tournaments that most of the other tournaments are. So it's huge money. And like everything, the same with the DP World Tour, it's about your big weeks. You're consistently finishing 25th and learning a lot is not really going to make a lot of headway, particularly with only 100 cards available this year. So the bar was a lot tighter this year with only 100 people keeping their card. So as I say, if you don't make it at the first time and you have to come back to the DP World Tour, that's okay. It's still an evolving process. You're still evolving as a career. You can still be very young in your career and have a go at it again. So it's not terminal. It's not like coming from the tour school. For example, you go to the tour school and you don't make it onto the DP World Tour. Well, then you're going back to the Challenge Tour or the Hotel Planner Tour, or you're going back to one of the satellite tours. And that's a lot. That's difficult. It can be really, really difficult and really challenging. But the safety net for these guys not making it on the PGA Tour or not keeping the card is they come back with an unbelievably good category on the DP World Tour and again play for huge funds and opportunities. So it's what a time to be a player, Jamie. It really is. It's not just the huge money; it's the pathways that are now open to play on the PGA Tour. But it is a big change, and it's what I was kind of illustrating there to Rasmus. It is a big change, and it's not just the golf that's a big change. It's the culture.
Yeah,
We talked
the
there about
lifestyle.
having to go over it and maybe rent a house and living in America, and all the tax implications and obligations to sponsors, obligations to family, and a lot of things are going around in your head on top of trying to be a golfer as well too. So it's a big leap, and we wish them all obviously the best of luck with it. And as you say, the final point on it is none of them turned their back on the DP World Tour. They still retain membership. They still come back and play on the DP World Tour, and that's really important.
Yeah, it's a big lifestyle change. I was chatting to a couple of them about it last week in Dubai. Marco Penge was over looking at places in the States with his wife to have for next year. Laurie Cantor is going to stay basing himself in Dubai and just fly over like Tommy Fleetwood does. So, horses for courses and whatever floats your boat, I suppose, as a player. I said we'd come back to Rory. Let's do that now. You said a couple of times during the commentary, this is the most complete version you've ever seen of Rory McIlroy. I suppose the challenge now is to just keep that riding into next year because, up against Scotty Scheffler, who's one of the greatest players of all time, he's going to need to be at his very best if he's to challenge for more major titles.
Absolutely. I think I've talked a lot about Rory. When he's emotionally engaged in something, that's when he's at his best. And I think that's the big challenge for him now as he goes into his late 30s. The challenge is to continue in that motivation, despite the fact that he's achieved everything in the game, including now the Grand Slam, and continue looking for something that's going to excite him. And he talked at the start of the year about obviously winning the Masters and then going on to maybe win a Ryder Cup away from home as being two massive things that he wanted to do. I think the Order Merit is definitely something that's alive and burning in him. He wants to take Monty and he wants to be the guy who's won the most Order Merit titles. I think that's going to continue to burn. But in terms of Rory becoming the number one player in the game again, I don't know if that's going to happen.
No.
Scotty Scheffler is so bloody consistent, and he does seem to be able to peel off 5 or 6 wins every single year on the PGA Tour with all the points that are available. And his sheer consistency and monotony. Remember, the world rankings are not necessarily who people consider to be the best player in the game. They are based on a 2-year performance, week in, week out, never having a drop. And Scotty Scheffler, that's what he's brilliant at. Rory is a little bit in and out, and that makes him so appealing because when he's on, he's fantastic to watch. But there are times then when he flatlines and goes out of the picture. Nevertheless, he's still number 2 in the world, and obviously major championships and adding to that haul and maybe joining and surpassing Nick Faldo would be the first thing that he would be trying to do, to be the European with the most major titles ever, to sit on top of the Grand Slam. So there's still lots to achieve for Rory, and his motivation is much to be admired. And in terms of being a complete player, absolutely. This time 2 or 3 years ago, Jamie, we were all looking at him. Supporters of Rory would be going, we know that he's not hitting his wedge shots closer. We know he's not holding the putts that he should be holding and taking advantage of the opportunities. And now that he is, he is a complete player. I'd really challenge you to pick a weakness in Rory's game.
Yeah.
Yes, he comes a little bit in and out mentally and in terms of engagement, and he does sort of drop concentration sometimes and make the odd mistake. But in terms of the quality of his play now, right through the bag, it's very hard to pick a weakness.
And, Monty is still sitting clear with 8 European Tour Order of Merits, and Seve will always be Seve for the spirit that he had and what he means to European golf. Sir Nick has the most majors, but where does Rory rank amongst the European greats now? Is he at the very top of the pile?
No question. In my mind, no question. The fact that he's a Grand Slam winner, I think, moves him ahead of the fact that Nick Faldo has won a major more than he has. To be the complete player and sit every one of the 4 exams of the majors and deal with the pressure of getting over the line with the 4th. A number of guys, great players, have got to 3 of the 4 majors, and then the pressure of trying to win the last one. has been just too hard for them to surmount. Rory didn't, and to do it the way he did in Augusta this year and complete that Grand Slam, it shows the mental resilience I was talking about earlier, and to keep coming back and to keep trying the way that he did to get over the line and getting closer and closer and it not happening, and then to keep knocking on the door and get over the line. That for me makes him the most successful. For me, it's even bigger than that, Jamie. For me, he's one of the greatest sports people we have ever seen anywhere in any sport. That's how high a bar, in my opinion, Rory McIlroy has set. You know, I know over in Northern Ireland, where you're from, they speak very, very highly of George Best. And I put him up there with George Best. And certainly, you know, with golfing goggles on, I put him past George Best because of what he's achieved on a world stage. As great as George Best was, you know, he never had the opportunity to play in a World Cup or win a World Cup. And you know, with limited success at Manchester United, it's hard to say that, you know, year after year that he was the greatest soccer player of all time. But with Rory McIlroy, you'd have to say that he is up there now in the very elite of one of the top 5 players that has ever played the game of golf, and that for me makes him an elite sportsman and one of the greatest sportsmen of all time.
Yeah, we might have to rename that airport. Just now that you now that you're mentioning it, and you know what was lovely, Paul? He was genuinely so happy for Fitz, which is just wonderful to see. I'm not sure you would see that in the PGA Tour, and also to see all 9 of the Ryder Cup players who played last week in the top 14. That just, I thought that was great.
Yeah, I think if you spend time around the team, Jamie, as you've done too, you know, people would see there's a natural bond between them. I really enjoyed my time as strategic advisor this year, sitting with Luke and his backroom team, and I particularly enjoyed the practice trip that were, you know, 12 players, 12 caddies, the backroom team. And that was it. You know, there was no wives, there was no partners, there was no coaches, there was nobody else around there. And just to see the actual real bonding among the players, not just in the plane and the way over, but the practice rounds and in the locker rooms and the natural affinity that they had for each other, the bonding that was there, to see them sitting in groups all the time, nobody ever sat on their own, and there was a real affinity and likeness that they had for each other. And that was really heartwarming to see. And on top of the brilliant talent that they all are, I think they get energized from each other. And Rory being a leader in terms of what he's achieved in the game, to see him molding in with all of the players and to enjoying the crack, enjoying the banter. And one of the things that I was going to be interested in, having not been involved really in the team for 10 years and being involved in most of the teams before that, was to see, was that natural bonding, that connection that we have as Europeans, that crack that we have with the caddies, was that going to still be there with how much the game has changed, with the money that the players make nowadays? Was that natural European bonding still going to be there? I can assure you, absolutely it is, having witnessed again. And it's great to see. It's all genuine. There's nothing put on there for the cameras. There's a real affinity among the players. And I think that is a really important glue that we're going to have going forward in Ryder Cups.
And last week was my first time in Dubai, let alone at the Tour Championships. There was just a lovely atmosphere all week, a real sort of celebratory end-of-season vibe. And I have to say, Paul, I make no apologies at all for being an unabashed cheerleader for the DP World Tour. Many of you will have seen an Instagram post from our colleague Iona Stephen talking about how all the tours have their own cadence and rhythm, and that the DP World Tour might just be all about family. I just wanted to read a short excerpt from it. It's built on 1,000 small human moments. The staff, ops teams, rules officials, volunteers, media crews rebuild a world each week and pack it away again. A travelling village held together by a bond. The nomadic life forges a tribe. We see the hugs, the handshakes, the tears, the laughter, the mischief. We know we're witnessing something rare in sport, a tour where friendship sits at the heart of high performance. That's just spot on, isn't it, Paul?
Wow, Iona wrote that?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I encourage you to read the whole thing. That's just a short excerpt from it. But it's such a special tour, isn't it? Something we need to cherish.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's real respect as well, too. And, you know, when you look again at the Ryder Cup and the success of the Ryder Cup, and of course the players are front and center of everything that goes on, you know, supported by the captain and the backroom team. But to look even at the player liaison, you know, I'm talking about Steph and I'm talking about Stuart Cage in the player liaison and their connection with the players. the genuine affinity, that the players have towards them. I'm talking about Scott Crockett and Michael Gibbons and all the team in the
Yeah.
media, the general affinity and how they can walk into a room or walk into a team room and be accepted in there. They're not looking at them as the big bad media that some pros would look at it as those of us who work in the media. There's a genuine affinity that there is towards all of those people, with the referees, with Guy Kinnings, with Keith Pelly before that, and it's all genuine. And there's open conversations and dialogue that goes on all the time, and all of those people know the line. There is a line there in the sand that we all know that you don't cross. There's some things that you don't repeat outside of personal conversations, and there's some things that you can share. But I think what's Iona, I need to read that. What Iona wrote there absolutely and just sums up everything about the DP World Tour. It really has done very, very well, and it's in a better place now than it's ever been before, which is incredible when you consider the challenges that it's faced in the last 3 or 4 years. And all credit to them. And obviously the alliance with the PGA Tour has been very important financially. I just love to see the PGA Tour empower us a little bit more, recognize the potential as well that we have around the world to make it even better than it is, and to see more of the American players getting on the road and traveling the way that we've seen Michael Kim this year post FedEx get on the road and come play some of these DP World Tour events. I think it would really benefit them personally as players, and will also benefit the game. It would benefit the PGA Tour, and it would benefit the DP World Tour. I wish the players would recognize that a little bit more, rather than kind of sitting at home for 6 months of the year post FedEx from the middle of August when that finishes up until middle of January before they kind of reappear again. I think everybody would benefit if we see them playing a little bit more than we do see the very, very top players playing.
Yeah, here, absolutely. Come over and play more, because the DP World Tour is a special place. We must protect it at all costs, and I flew back from Dubai with a warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart. It really is a very, very special place. Some other news from the world of golf over this past week or so. Q School, Xander Lombard was dominant, earning his place back in the DP World Tour. Some other familiar names, the likes of Matthew Baldwin, Adri Arnaus will be back too. But the one, Paul, which resonated with a lot of people most was Eddie Pepperell. He has been through the mill these last few years and got very emotional when speaking about what it meant for him to get his card back.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself, actually. That was a tough day and a great finish. So this week felt like a bit of a struggle at times, and never more so than today, midway through the round, but I really hung in there, and I'm delighted. Yeah, it's tough to put into words, really, and the game's been tough for a while, and I've made it hard for myself as well. So the game is so difficult still. So I just want to take forward what I've just done there, to be fair.
Congratulations, well done.
Thanks.
Okay,
Sorry, guys.
He doesn't often get too emotional, does Eddie? But Paul, that is genuine, and it has been such a tough time for him.
It has been, and to see some of his players like Laurie Cantor really excelling and going the other direction as things have stalled and gone backwards for Eddie. It just kind of shows you the fine line that there can be between success and failure at the very, very top of the game. Eddie's got another throw of the dice, and I've played with Eddie on tour. He's a great guy, and he's a very popular guy and a hell of a player. And hopefully now he's going to maybe have a resurgence in his game. We've seen that before. We made the point earlier about success not being a straight line. Everybody has ups and downs in their careers, no matter who they are. There's nobody escapes it in the game in terms of failures and things going wrong as well as successes. And Eddie's had many successes, including his great win in the British Masters. So maybe this is going to be a throw of the dice that could be the best yet for Eddie.
Yeah, delighted for Eddie. Other news, Justin Thomas has confirmed he'll miss the start of next season after undergoing surgery to relieve pain in his back and his hip. Shane Lowry will take his place in a skins game next Friday alongside Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele and Keegan Bradley. Henrik Stenson has reapplied for DP World Tour membership after being relegated from LIV. He's got no outstanding fines and so will return next season, 3 years after leaving the tour and being stripped, of course, of the Ryder Cup captaincy. Paul, will he be welcomed back?
Yeah, Henrik has done an amazing amount for Europe over the years, not just in terms of his brand and playing bigger tournaments, and he was the world best player in the game at one stage, and winning major championships and coming back and continue to keep his European Tour membership. Obviously, he had an amazing opportunity financially to go and play and live. It hasn't worked out for him, and the pathway is open, and he abides by the regulations, which is the fines, as well as the suspensions that he'll have to face. We'll be happy to see him coming back on the DP World Tour for sure.
Staying with the Swedish theme, on the LPGA Tour, Lynn Grant won the Annika, coasting to victory, going 52 holes without a bogey at one stage, her second LPGA title. The second time she's received a trophy from her fellow countrywoman, the great Annika Sorenstam, having also won the Scandinavian Mixed. On the PGA Tour, Adam Schenk was the winner of the Butterfield Bermuda, his first PGA Tour win. This week, it's the RSM Classic on the PGA Tour, the last event of the fall series. A final chance for some players on the bubble to keep their cards for next season. The LPGA Tour have their Tour Championship, and the DP World Tour, would you believe it, starts up again next week with the Australian PGA Championship. Rory will be heading a strong field at the Australian Open the following week at Royal Melbourne. No rest for the wicked, Paul? Straight back into the 2026 season.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't have to play these events, but if I was a player at this moment in time, particularly with the Australian Open being on at Royal Melbourne, one of the greatest, if not the greatest golf course in the world, I'd be getting on a plane. I know it's in Australia, but it doesn't come around very often to be able to play an Australian Open on such a brilliant golf course. I was down there last year, and it really is something special, and I'm sure Rory's going to really, really enjoy the thrill of that, and I think he's going to rock the tournament. He's going to have sellout crowds there. The Australians are going to come out in their droves to watch him, particularly after the season that he's had and the draw that he is personality wise. So it's great that he's doing it. It's great that we talk about growing the game, and it's a term that's thrown around so easily and by too many people about, I'm trying to grow the game. A real growing of the game, Jamie, is turning up at tournaments in obscure places in the world, and energizing young kids, boys and girls, to come and watch them play, and maybe get energized by that and go back and practice harder to hope that one day they will be a player. I certainly got energized by that. Back in the days before Sky Sports, when there was limited golf on TV, I got so energized as a young kid, a teenager, growing up in Ireland, at Irish Opens that were played in Portmarnock and the likes of Royal Dublin, when I was 13, 14, 15 years of age, and going out and seeing great players like Brent Crenshaw at the time, like Greg Norman at the time, Nick Faldo at the time, turning up, standing 2 yards away from them, watching, hitting golf shots. That's how you grow the game more than anything else, in terms of young people being brought into it. And I think that's what Rory is doing more than anything. We've seen him in India. We've seen him in Dubai this year. We're going to see him in Australia at the end of the year. So much credit to him. With all the year that he's had, all the success that he's had, all the money that he's got, to still get on a plane in December and go all the way down to Australia to play that event. Hats off to him. It's credit, and one of the reasons why he is the biggest name in the game.
Yeah, well said. And one very final thing that I wanted to mention today's pod. Last week, I actually flew from Dubai to Shannon via Heathrow because I was part of a panel on Friday morning at Adair Manor talking about the most recent Ryder Cup and talking about the next Ryder Cup. And I have to say, Paul, 2 years out, I'm already excited about it. I mean, we always put on a great show in Ireland, but you've seen it with both times at the Open Championship being at the Royal Portrush. You saw it back in 2006 when you were part of that team at the K Club, and the Ryder Cup has grown since then. You saw it this year at the K Club with the Irish Open. Irish golfing crowds are something special, and it is going to be, I'm already excited about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be amazing. We do have to put the wheels back on the bike a little bit. I think the Ryder Cup brand was hurt with the behaviour of the American fans this year. It was way over the top, and we have to correct that in Ireland, and we will. We'll put on a great show, and JP McManus, who's hosting, will put on an amazing show, and the Irish fans will be there in the droves. Indeed, the European fans from all over will come over, and I can really assure you that I'm very confident that yes, they'll be very supportive of our team, and they'll be very passionate behind our team, but they'll understand where the line is, and they'll redraw the line of what good crowd behaviour should be. To be a player and playing in that environment, what a thrill that's going to be. Trying to go for 3 in a row, that's not going to be easy, but I think with the quality of players that we have, not just in the team now, and the likes of Rasmus coming through now, Iora, who looks so impressive this week in the DP World over in Dubai as well this year. The future's strong. Marco Penge as well too.
Yeah.
The future's strong, as well as a great pipeline coming through, as well as the great talent that we have in the last 2 Ryder Cups in particular.
Yeah, it's going to be some show. We cannot wait for that. And we cannot wait to see who the captains are going to be. Will it be Luke versus Tiger? That's a conversation for another time. Look, that does us for today. Paul, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to Rasmus as well. If you've liked what you've heard or watched today, do make sure you give us a follow on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your pods. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. A huge thank you, as always, to Callaway for sponsoring the podcast. We're going to be back in a few weeks' time with our special Review of the Year pod, lining up some big guests for that one. Can't tell you who they are just yet. Negotiations ongoing, but looking forward to that. Our customary end of season awards to be debated and handed out too. So do join us again for that, and see you soon.